Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Back with another video reacting to what Army recruits go through at boot camp. I'm already a little upset that it's called boot camp. So for those of you that don't know, Marine Corps and Navy go through boot camp. The Army soldiers go through basic training. So they already got it wrong. Business Insider, good work.
Why are you moving? Why are you moving? Huh?
This is Army Boot Camp. Before they join the United States Army, all recruits have to graduate from a 22-week program known as One Station Unit Training, also known as OSUT.
So this is not what every single recruit has to go through. This is what every single Army infantry and other certain MOSs have to go through, One Station Unit Training, or OSUT. It's basically taking what your job training and your basic training combined into one. So taking the AIT and your basic training, boom, One Station Unit Training. You are not moving stations. Usually what happens is, let's say you're gonna go be a logistics person. I believe you would go to basic training really at any of the locations that they have basic training at. When I went through, it was Fort Benning, Georgia. It's Fort Sill, Oklahoma. It is Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. OSUT, or One Station Unit Training, there is only a specific duty location that do those things. So Fort Leonard Wood Military Police, they do that. For infantry, they do it at Fort Benning, Georgia. Armor, I believe, also does OSUT. Basically, it's just to not move people around, get everything all in one area. Fort Benning, Georgia is home of the infantry, so that's why they do all of this stuff here. So that is not what every single recruit goes through 22 weeks. It is 10 weeks for basic training and then whatever your AIT time would be.
It happens here at Fort Benning, a 182,000-acre military installation that straddles the Alabama-Georgia border about 100 miles southwest of Atlanta. Every year, more than 18,000 soldiers graduate before joining the more than 470,000 people actively serving in the Army.
Right there, where they're at right now, that is the Seaburn range. I remember that night and day. And you can see that none of the recruits have their patches on the left side, meaning they haven't completed basic training part, which makes sense because they're in the Seaburn phase. But you'll see in later on, there's people who have the U.S. Army patch on their left shoulder, and that indicates that they have completed basic training and then they're in their AIT portion of OSUT for this unit that they're currently following, I believe.
13, 14, 15.
Although most of the recruits that we saw during our time there were male, recruits trained together in gender-integrated platoons.
These young men and women that volunteer to serve, they show up to us as civilians, and then we take them through a transformative process to turn them into soldiers.
You just go to position of attention and you stay in position of attention.
On a
So one of the things that's interesting about that, so they said gender integrated platoons. That is correct. If a female wants to go into infantry, that is allowed now. However, when I went through basic training, just in general, just straight basic training at Fort Benning, we didn't have a single female with me. And I went back through in 2018, not that long ago, where we had not a single female. The only females that we saw around were females that were also doing infantry as their MOS. So they were infantry OSUT. However, other duty locations such as Fort Jackson, Fort Sill, Fort Leonard Wood, those are all integrated, gender integrated platoons.
Rain-soaked week in February, we spent 4 days inside the Army's Maneuver Center of Excellence, which trains soldiers to serve in the infantry and armor branches. We saw different companies at various stages of training.
So you can see those guys have the patch on their shoulder. That means they have completed their basic training phase and they are currently on their AIT portion, aka doing more of their infantry job requirement training. Oh man,
on
dude.
Day one,
this is bringing me flashbacks.
Infantry recruits on a bus from the Atlanta airport arrive at the 30th AG Battalion headquarters, where all new recruits are received.
Listen up! You ain't got one to hear from you at this point. It's yes, drill sergeant, no drill sergeant. Do you understand? Yes, drill sergeant! And I tell you, you will pass your folders to the front.
The minimum age to enlist in the Army is 17, and the maximum age is 35. The base salary for an entry-level private is about $20,000 a year.
Let's go!
This was the worst part of the entire basic training experience. Reception. Reception is literally the worst feeling. Because think about this. You've got everybody who has not quite figured out what's going on yet, getting slammed in the face with drill sergeants and you have no idea what to do. No idea to do with your hands, no idea to do with your body. You just do what you're told. And the biggest problem that I had was just the fact that you would sit in a room waiting to get your shots, waiting to get all your paperwork done, waiting to fill out literally everything you need to do to prepare yourself for success after you leave basic and to get integrated into the military and the government was here. The problem is that it's terrifying because you're a freaking, I was 24 and I was genuinely terrified because I'm like, I left my entire family and friends for this and I'm getting screamed at, yelled at, but I've always wanted to do it, so here I am, you know, and you just kind of suck it up and do it, embrace the suck. But the thing that sucked about it was how much waiting there was. You had nothing, your phone's obviously taken away, so the only thing you have is this thing called a blue book, which has all this army information in it that you're supposed to study, like the Soldier's Creed, you're supposed to have that memorized, things like that, the general orders. So we were going through and we were memorizing that stuff, but we're sitting in a giant auditorium at 30th AG and we're just chilling. And you're sitting there thinking about your decision for hours on end because they had so many people that are in processing and out processing at the same time that it makes things, well, rather challenging.
Oh, 30 seconds! Hurry up, on your back!
Before they go inside, the new recruits learn some basic commands and standing positions.
Hut training time! Everyone look down at their toes. You should be able to fit a slice of pizza in between your toes.
Oh man, this is just bringing me back, man.
Cause you're taller than everyone else!
Quickly! Who wants to sit there?
I got a famous statue here. Yep, there it is.
Goes all the same!
The recruits grab the snack that's waiting for them inside.
So I never got a snack. None of us did. So I don't know what this is. This is BS. Wish I would have gotten a snack, dude. We got in late, like 2, 3 a.m. It's brutal because the way that it works is that when you get picked up from the airport, it's really when everyone lands in their group. You sign in and they have a roster to make sure that they have everybody there. So there's some flights that don't get in till later. Some got delayed because there was a storm. So because of that, we didn't get in until like, I think 2 or 3 a.m. And then by the time I went to bed, after we had been issued all of our equipment and stuff, I think it was around 4:30, 5 a.m. And I got 15 minutes of sleep the first night. And then we got woken up and then we had to start the day.
Consisting of a fruit cup, sunflower seeds, a granola bar, and a juice box.
Watch the video, remain silent.
Since 1775, the Army has been the bearer
And they show a video.
of strength in every crisis or conflict. Make no mistake about it, the journey you are embarking upon will not be easy. But you wouldn't be here if we didn't think you couldn't meet the challenge.
Listen up.
Dude, those shirts right there, this one that this guy's wearing right here, the Make the Cut, that's the same shirt that you would be given after you enlisted, after you signed your contract. I have that same shirt. I think I gave it to Goodwill or something because they gave me a large and I was like swimming in it.
Your last 4 year social.
After being welcomed, recruits begin what's known as processing, which can take 1 to 2 weeks before their actual training begins.
In a little bit, we'll give you a period to go in a room by yourself.
First, they're given one last chance to discreetly dispose of prohibited contraband, like drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and inappropriate photographs.
If any photo you possess on your phone is less than a bathing suit, you will not have it. You will delete them all.
Recruits get rid of contraband in an amnesty room.
Oh my gosh,
they dispose
man.
of it by throwing it down a metal chute.
Yep.
Is anybody confused on what you can and cannot have?
So here's the thing. It was more than the stuff that they just kind of showed. They're like, you can't have fucking dental floss. You can't have certain soaps. You can't have, like, I threw away so much shit in there because I thought,
I'm like, there's no way I'm getting recycled
or kicked out because I held on to soap. It literally, they have a sheet that says you can't have all this stuff, and dental floss is one of them. So I had to check my dental floss. You can't have mouthwash, especially if it's alcohol based, because obviously people could drink it. Do you have any questions on what is allowed and what isn't allowed? Because then there's no doubt on what you can and cannot have. That way they know that they gave you all the instructions, and then if you mess up, that's on you.
The next morning, the recruits report to the barber shop.
Look what that says, $7. You have to pay for your haircut. I thought, you know, the movies, they show it where it's like you just show up, you get your head shaved, you're good to go. No, you have to pay for this. So they give you this little card that has money on it. I think it's like $100 or $200 on it. That way you can buy some things while you're there. So your drill sergeant, whoever's in charge of you, or the NCO that's in charge of your company, will march you by platoon or by squad down to these shops to buy your shoes, to buy some of your like shaving gel and shaving product stuff stuff like that at some of the shopettes. So you use that to pay for this. But man, I was so shocked. I'm like, wait, you guys are cutting my hair. You're making me shave my head and I have to pay for it?
Recruits are issued uniforms.
Worst boots ever.
Receive a series of immunizations and vaccines.
That was a perfect example as well. Sorry, I keep stopping it, but yo, check this out. Literally, the shoes, they didn't find boots that fit me.
Recruits are issued uniforms.
So they fit me with boots that were 2 sizes too big because it was taking me literally 45 minutes to find a pair of boots, and the drill sergeant comes up, he's like,
You're not special, get moving.
And starts yelling at me. I'm like, all right, bet. I guess I'm just getting shoes that are too big for me. So they issue you 2 pairs of boots, and then they would issue you a pair of winter boots as well, like cold weather boots. And then you can see the immunization shots here. That's exactly how you do it. We'd walk forward. They'd have 2 people on each side, jab you, and then you take a step forward, 2 more shots go in your arm, jab you.
Immunizations and vaccines. And get their official photo taken.
Yep.
Along with myriad housekeeping details that fill up their 1 to 2 week stay.
And there's the room. There's the room. A 1 to 2 week stint is what he's saying is that it took. I was there for a week, and you can see this kid right here in front is reading his blue book right there. That's the book they give you that you can read that I was talking about earlier. And you just sit in here until your platoon or your squad is called off to go and get things done. And they basically split it up by Reserve, National Guard, and active duty because you all go to basic training together.
Day in processing.
Hey, sit up straight.
That is until processing ends and the time for training finally arrives.
Oh, this is the most nerve-wracking part, man.
We found a company of recruits about to begin training in the armor school.
Those are bridle.
These recruits are about to be picked up and taken to their barracks, where they'll reside for the rest of their training.
Yep, so this is when the drill sergeants show up and they did the shark attack initially. And they're way toned down. I'm telling you that right now.
To change their mind
because the camera is rolling.
Training begins, like one recruit who decided to stay behind.
Fastest way to get out of basic training is to graduate basic training. You will hear that from so many drill sergeants and so many personnel. They will make your life a living hell if you decide to quit or if you decide to give up, because all their attention is going to be on the people that want to continue training, which makes complete sense when you think about it. They're not going to put time and effort into the person that wants to quit. And that's what ended up happening with a couple people from my platoon. We had a kid that just decided to quit and give up, and he wasn't picking up after himself, and we were getting smoked because of it. So we had a lot of animosity towards that kid. He ended up taking a dump in a kid's boot. If you haven't heard that story, I can tell it a little bit more later. But he was not happy, and they ended up getting him out of there because he just refused to train.
This short bus ride from processing to their new barracks will be the most peaceful moments these recruits will experience for a while.
Not true.
What happens next is known as the shark attack.
Everyone was terrified.
Run! Run! At no time will you walk! You will run! Everyone you freaking go! Go! Run! Run!
Oh.
Can I say what? Get your bags up right now! Get your bags up! This way! Let's go! You're a tough guy! Don't move! Do something! Do something! That's what I thought! Why are you still not understanding? He just said it!
Well, it's really just a little shock to the system so we can break them down to build them back up. We're breaking a lot of habits from the civilian world, and nothing better than a little shock to the system to establish that that drill sergeant is in charge to let us start our training.
It makes sense because you have people from all walks of life. You don't know what people will be like. And you have some people that are going to get this cocky face and attitude towards the drill sergeant. And the drill sergeants will pick up on that, and they'll find that name tape. They'll figure out that name, and they know who they need to pick on a little bit more to kind of establish that dominance, because that's really what it is, like they're saying, to show who's in charge. That way they can continue training. Because this, I tell you right now, a lot of the people that break easy, or a lot of the people that they understand who's in charge right away, it's too easy for them. This is a good process, but there are a lot of stubborn people that will not learn from this, that will cause a lot of issues down the line, where the drill sergeants can really pick up on that early on.
The recruits spend much of the shark attack holding their heavy rucksacks above their heads.
It's not a rucksack, it's just a duffel bag.
Takes a physical toll.
Why is that so difficult? You can't pick that bag up. You decided to join the army and you can't pick that bag up.
Right side back, right side back, right side back.
After about 20 minutes, the intensity begins to subside,
That didn't happen for us.
and the drill sergeant's tone changes
We only produce the best soldiers in the United States Army.
before training officially begins.
So for us, what they did is they had us all go into our bay, and then it was individual drill sergeants that were kind of talking to all of us right after that. Now, the other thing that I wanted to say about this, so I was in the back of our platoon's formation, and we're all holding our bags above our head, you know, everyone's shaking, and what you need to understand is that they're calling off names, and you can't hear anything because every single drill sergeant from each platoon is f***ing screaming. So I didn't hear my name get called. My drill sergeant, senior drill sergeant, said it 3 times, and I finally heard him because he came around the side where I could actually hear him. The voice was getting through. He comes running up to me after I say, "Here, drill sergeant," you know, and he comes up to me. He's like,
Why didn't you answer me the first time?
and just starts screaming at me, and I was like, "No excuse, drill sergeant."
After the shock and awe of the shark attack, things do appear to calm down.
Is it a video?
It's a movie.
Alpha 347.
I always wanted to be a star.
We found this group of infantry soldiers in week 11 of their training, practicing on the firing range.
The reason it's let up is because they have completed their basic training portion. They're now in the AIT. The drill sergeants will let up a little bit because they're more of the focus on, this is your job now. We've broken you in. You are a soldier now, but you need to understand now you are becoming an infantryman, and these are the expectations we have. So they'll be more of a mentor at this point rather than break you down, because they've already broken you down, built you up to be a soldier. Now it is time to start training.
The mood was much more relaxed,
Try to get 8 up on my level.
and their conversations with their drill sergeants are conducted at normal volumes, like when this drill sergeant educated the recruits on the meaning of the military expression 8 up.
Is a piece of 8 up gum good? You don't want something that's 8 up, right? You want something fresh. You break the seal, it smells like olive oil, right? Okay.
That dynamic changes because we want the soldiers to become more critical thinkers. At that point, we are turning into more coaches and mentors. We dial it back a little bit, so we don't want them frightened. We want them to be comfortable and in a state of mind that is receptive to learning.
Complete side note here, by the way, totally everything that I was saying before. Okay, you see this guy's helmet, how he's got the hearts on the side? That's a helmet cover, and some of the units in the 101st Airborne they're an air assault unit, kind of contradictory to the airborne thing, but it's because of heritage. For those of you that don't know, they're the Screaming Eagles, really well known during World War II. They used to do card deck suits to let people know what unit they were a part of back then. They still do that. It's called the Black Hearts for this one. What they started to notice is that these were becoming targets for snipers downrange, and downrange meaning you're deployed. So a lot of guys were taking these things off eventually when they were downrange, because they were noticing that snipers were using them as basically targets. They were a big black blob that they were able to see on the helmet that was, you know, showing up through the camouflage. Now, albeit the camouflage isn't, you know, that great, the digital camo that we had, but it's just interesting to see you've got the instructor that still has that on.
And in a state of mind that is receptive to learning and performing at that level.
Up to 241 hours of infantry OSIT are devoted to marksmanship, where recruits fire about 2,500 rounds using the M4 carbine, as well as the M249 squad automatic weapon, or SAW.
We create lethality. We create expert marksmen at their individual weapons, because as an infantry soldier, that's what we're asking them to do.
Makes complete sense. Here's back to basic
Recruits
training.
get one of the most painful parts of training out of the way early.
Yep.
Once we check your seal, you will not touch your ProMat.
This group of infantry recruits was exposed to CS gas, or tear gas.
There you go.
in
We
week
talked about
1 of their
this.
training.
You're gonna continue to pile in until we tell you to stop.
Now, really cool. He has the amplifier on the front of his mask right here. That thing is basically a microphone that attaches to the front of the Pro mask, which you can see right here on the front. And it basically makes him sound like Darth Vader, kind of.
Pile in until we tell you to stop. You're gonna place your back against the wall.
The recruits spend about 5 minutes inside the gas hut.
The slow-mo.
On exiting
Oh,
the
look
gas
at that guy.
recruits are told to flap their arms like birds to remove excess gas from their uniforms. According to a drill sergeant, the effects of the gas begin to wear off after about 4 minutes.
Yep. So they have you walk around in a circle for about that time, about 5 to 10 minutes. My eyes, like, it took probably about that time, 4 minutes, before I could finally open them up consistently without blinking like crazy.
Some training moves indoors, like combatives, where recruits learn hand-to-hand self-defense tactics.
We're trying to teach them
We didn't do any of this
achieve the dominant
indoors.
body position.
All of ours was
Get out
outdoors.
of one negative position and then switch roles so they end up having the upper hand in a fight.
In a gravel pit, which you saw in the basic training
During
video.
combatives training, recruits warm up with a particularly painful-looking exercise, referred to as the EO. While laying on their backs,
That sucks,
they have to
man.
engage their core to wiggle across the entire room.
Doesn't look
Easy
hard,
momentum.
but I tell you right now, go and try this. It's called an EO. Yeah, like they said, you're basically shifting your weight from your hips over and your shoulder blades, and you're just kind of shimmying across. And your feet need to be up parallel, and you can't have your elbows touching the entire time.
Shoulder blades, their core, to help them create space, warm up the body.
Recruits work up a major appetite during training. But Fort Benning is big, and they're not always within range of the dining facility.
MREs,
When they're
baby.
training in the field, recruits are issued MREs, which stands for Meal Ready to Eat. Each comes with an entree, like this vegetarian pasta with taco sauce, along with an assortment of items like mixed fruit, an energy bar, and this instant French vanilla cappuccino. Recruits just add water, shake it up, and enjoy. Once they're fortified, recruits return to their training.
So the thing with MREs is that we never really had time to heat them up. They have a heater. If you want to see me open up a MRE and do like an MRE review or eat it, be sure to comment down below if you want to see that. I think I may end up doing that, but...
Recruits spend up to 60 hours in training known as MOUT, which stands for Military Operations in Urban Terrain.
Door left, door left. One man calls door left.
Infantrymen are expected to fight in different types of terrain and survive and win the fight. Right now, they are getting their first taste of what that's like in an urban environment.
Rolling T. All right, coming up.
In operations across Afghanistan, Iraq, we are conducting clearance operations, and it's applicable wherever we go.
Boom.
It's important for the future soldiers' muscle memory because they are working as a team with minimal communication, and they have to understand how that coordination works together.
Do it again.
And see, that muscle memory is important to build on as they move to their unit. Now, each unit is going to have a SOP or a standard operating procedure that may differ from what they learned here, but these are the basics that they're going to learn here that they can bring to their unit, and then they're hopefully expected to have some baseline understanding that they can bring to the fight.
After 22 weeks of training, these infantrymen are ready to leave Fort Benning. Friends and family gather to watch their soldiers graduate.
That's the
on
National
Inouye
Infantry
Field.
Museum, right outside of the National Infantry Museum on the parade field. And that's where we
They
had
look
our
like soldiers.
graduation
They act
ceremony.
like soldiers. They're carrying their head high. I have trainees that were not alive when 9/11 happened. I think that's pretty powerful that I still can find American citizens that want to volunteer to serve their country when we continue to ask them to go to combat.
These new infantrymen don't have long to greet their loved ones.
Get on the bus!
Or say goodbye to their friends before leaving Fort Benning to begin their service in the United States Army.
Yeah, those buses will usually take them just straight to the airport depending where they go. So for example, for me, since I went straight to OCS afterwards, which OCS is done at Fort Benning, Georgia, we all got on a bus and we were taken over to the OCS footprint where we in process and then began OCS from there. So overall, ladies and gents, what did you think? You think that this showed a little bit better footage on what my video footage had? It was a lot higher quality than what my basic training experience video had, which I think it was kind of cool to get a little different insight on some of the OSUT and infantry recruits on what they go through. So those 11 Bravos and 11 Charlies. But if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. See you in the next one.